All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something I know a lot of people are curious about, and that's manifestation. This whole concept of like our thoughts and beliefs can really influence and shape what happens in our lives, and that it's based on this idea like attracts, like, have you heard of that?
Yeah, for sure. It's
Model?
like, those dominant thoughts that we have, right? And kind
Yeah.
of the energy that we're putting out into the world, they almost act like a magnet. What we consistently focus on, we tend to draw into our experience. But I think the key here is it's not just about sitting around and like wishing for things to happen, right?
Exactly, yeah. It's definitely not passive. It's not just hoping. And that's kind of what we want to get into in this deep dive. We're really going to try to like get down to the nitty-gritty of like how does this actually work? What are the steps that someone can take to actually align themselves with what they want?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing. It's about intentional engagement. So we're looking at the inner world, our thoughts and beliefs, and how those go hand in hand with, taking actions in the outer world to make those things happen.
Okay, so let's get into it. So manifestation at its core is basically turning those internal ideas, your thoughts, those deep-seated beliefs, the things that you yearn for, and turning those into like the actual reality that you experience. And like we said, the driving force behind this is something often called the law of attraction, like attracts like. And
Oh.
this is a concept that we see pop up in a lot of different places. And it suggests that like the main energy, what you focus on, acts as a beacon, like it attracts similar experiences to you.
Yeah, and what's really cool about that is to think about how that actually plays out in our lives. Like we don't even realize it's happening a lot of the time. Think about someone who's always stressed about money. I can't afford that, or money is always tight, right? They're putting that energy out there, and what are they attracting? Scarce.
Exactly. It's like tuning into a specific radio frequency. If you're always tuned into that, like, I don't have enough station, you're going to pick up more signals on that same wavelength.
Yes.
So, but then what happens if you start to tune into a different station, even if it feels weird at first? What if you start to focus on there's always opportunities for abundance around me? You start to align with a different energy pattern, and then suddenly those opportunities start to present themselves.
Yeah. And this is where I think a lot of people get tripped up with this idea of like, oh, I'm just going to wish for this, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to magically come into my life. Our sources emphasize like this is not some like magical loophole.
Yeah.
You just dream about it and it's going to appear. It takes belief and action, those two things working together. It's that inner world and outer world that we were talking about.
Yeah, so it's definitely not just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. It sounds like there are some actual steps involved, right? This active process. So, like, what are those steps? What are the things that someone actually has to do? Well, from what we've seen, there are three, like, non-negotiable steps that our sources kept bringing up. And I think they're a pretty good framework to use. What do you think?
Totally. I think it's like a really accessible way to think about it. And that first step is having that clarity of desire,
Yeah.
like knowing what you want.
Right, like you can't really manifest something if you don't even know what it is.
Right.
So, and it sounds simple, but a lot of times we see that people's wishes are kind of vague, or maybe they think, oh, I should want this because society tells me I should want this, but it might not even be what they really want deep down. It's a real self-reflection process.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like going deeper, asking yourself, well, what do I truly desire?
Yeah.
Not just on that surface level, like if you want a new car, right? Is it the status? Is it the freedom? Is it, just to feel safe? Like, what's that deeper thing? And then even better question is, how will it feel when I actually have it?
Oh, that's such a good point, because that feeling, that joy or gratitude, that sense of fulfillment, that's kind of like the energy you're putting out there. And, it fuels the whole process.
And it really does. And to really drive that home, one of the pieces of advice that we saw over and over again was write down your desire. Be specific, right? And frame it in the present tense as if you already have it. So instead of I want a promotion by the end of the year, it's I am so grateful to be thriving in my new role as, and you name the specific position.
Okay, so it's like that little subtle shift in the way you think about it. You're planting that seed in your conscious and subconscious, like it's already growing. Okay, so step one, clear desire, feeling it. What's number two?
Step two, cultivating belief. And I think this is where a lot of people really struggle because doubt, that's a big one. It's like, so I call it dream killer, like the number one dream killer.
Definitely. You can have the most well-defined desire in the world, but if deep down you're like, I don't know if I can actually have this, it's like trying to drive with the parking brake on, right?
Yeah.
You've got to feel it real in your mind before you see it in your life.
Yeah, totally. And that's where You really have to work on your belief system.
Yeah.
And one technique is to act as if, as if that thing is already there. How would you behave? What kind of decisions would you make? Like really embody it.
We also saw a lot of people talking about using affirmations, right? So those positive statements that you repeat regularly to just like reinforce that belief. Like, I'm fully capable of achieving my goals, or I easily attract positive opportunities into my life.
Right. And it's not just about saying the words, it's about feeling them too, right? Like
Right.
believing that truth. And another big part of this is trusting the timing. Like some people talk about it as universal timing, learning to let go of I have to control every step and trusting that it's going to work out in the right way at the right time.
Yeah, surrender, trust. It's hard, right? We like to be in control,
Like,
like to know
sure.
exactly what's going to happen, but sometimes the best things come from those unexpected places,
Mhm.
right? Those things we could never have planned for. So, clarity of desire, belief, what's the third thing?
The third piece is inspired action. This is where you actually go out and you engage with the world. Like we were talking about before, it's not a passive thing. It's about actively participating.
Yeah, not just endless visualization,
Uh-huh.
affirmations while you're sitting on the couch waiting for your dreams to just like show up at your door. It's about what a lot of our sources called aligned action, like taking steps that are in harmony with what you want. It feels right, it's intuitive.
Yeah, like if you want to be a freelancer, for example, inspired action might look like updating your portfolio, reaching out to clients, maybe taking some new classes. If it's about finding a partner, maybe it's working on yourself, becoming your best self, putting yourself out there, going to events,
Yeah.
things like that.
You know what we saw a lot? The universe rewards movement. Like, it's showing up, even if it's little by little, right? Those steps build momentum. They open those doors that you didn't even know were there.
Absolutely. It's about staying open to opportunity, paying attention to those nudges, those intuitive feelings, and then acting when it feels right.
Mm.
It's that inner work meeting the outer world again.
And I think a great way to really drive this home is to hear a real world example, right? And one of the things we came across was this story that really shows how these 3 steps can actually work.
Yeah, I really like this one because it takes you through the journey of this person who went from really struggling, having so much self-doubt, to actually achieving their dreams by consciously using these principles. And the person was going through a tough time financially, and they just felt this deep uncertainty about the future.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people can relate to that self-doubt, that little voice that's like, can I really do this? Is this even possible? And
Yeah.
so they described this turning point where they were just like, okay, I'm going to commit to these 3 steps 100%.
Yeah. What's so cool is the steps they actually took, like writing their goals down, spending time each day, visualizing themselves already having achieved those goals.
Mm.
And then the big thing, taking those small, consistent actions, even when they were scared.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like this overnight thing. It was gradual, consistent intention, action, action, action. And then they started seeing these positive changes. Like out of nowhere, they got this dream collaboration opportunity. Their income started to increase. And maybe the biggest thing, their whole mindset shifted. Their belief became so much stronger.
And that's the thing, right? As their belief grew through those visualizations and affirmations, they were more likely to take those aligned actions.
Mhm.
And then those positive results reinforce that belief even more. It's like this beautiful upward spiral. And the biggest takeaway, the power of genuine belief. They said, I didn't just hope, I truly believed. Like it was unwavering faith.
Yeah, that deep inner knowing, it makes such a difference. So we've talked about the what, the why, the how. Now what? What can our listeners actually do right now? Well, we found this really cool short-term challenge that encourages people to just jump in and start experimenting with these ideas.
Yeah, the 7-day challenge. So it's like a really awesome starting point to
Yeah.
see what this can do in your life. And it's got 3 daily tasks. Each one's designed to, hit those key steps that we've been talking about.
So number 1, every morning, take a little time to journal about what you want to manifest. Keeps that desire at the top of your mind. So you're focused, you're aligned.
Right, a daily reminder, like
Right.
solidifying that vision. The second task is to say an affirmation out loud every single day. They gave the example, I'm a magnet for success, but you can choose anything that really resonates with you and your goals. And this is all about nurturing that belief, reminding yourself that you're worthy.
And the third task, take at least one small action every day that moves you towards your goal. So that's the inspired action in practice. It doesn't have to be this huge leap. Even something small just keeps the momentum going. It shows the universe that you're serious.
And I think that part about sharing what you're focusing on is really neat because, you're not only putting it out there, but you're also inviting others to kind of hold you accountable,
Yeah.
and